All right, I want to make a video about getting too attached to technique. Just because you've done something for years or you've made a lot of progress on a given technique doesn't mean that it's going to be the best technique for your long-term progression. And I see a lot of intermediate lifters get stuck at this where it's like, oh, I've tried that technique, it doesn't work for me, but they haven't given the time to build that technique. And even though it's a slower progression at a given time, like let's say you're going from like a 315 to a 405 deadlift, and you learn to just make faster progress by rounding your back more. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm a round back deadlifter. And then you get to the 405, then you get hard stuck there, and you can't progress past like that, like 415, 405 range. Whereas if you were to have just stuck with the little bit more flat back approach with slightly less of a round, that's more leg dominant, then you might have reached 405 a little bit slower, but you would have kept going all the way up into like 600. So what I see a lot is lifters who have these like really quick progressions sometimes is going to be due to the fact that they're compromising their technique, or they're using a new technique that's going to give them that kickstart, that slingshot up to that number. But then because their technique adapts around it, they begin lagging in the musculature or the just the motor pattern to be able to even continue progressing. So like you might let's use like a squat for example. Let's say you start doing more and more of just giving your back and like rounding over to a good morning, using your hips more and just all your back musculature to try and get the weight up. You're using less and less of your quads each time, and you're building and you're losing your ability to stay like braced as well as you go into that more good morningy kind of squat. Like at least your ability to stay braced while keeping your knees in, so you can actually stay under the weight. So what happens is over time your back gets more and more tired, so it might affect your deadlift, but even more so, your legs become more and more underdeveloped because you're just disproportionately building your back and all those extensors. So then you get to like, let's say you get to like a 550 squat, you're going to be hard stuck there, and there's just nothing that you can do unless you rework your technique from the ground up. And what that might look like is you might be having to take like 50 to 80 pounds off your squat just to try and keep like a more steady torso angle, not a dynamic torso angle where it changes and your hips shoot up as you go, but just a steady torso angle, not necessarily upright, but just steady, same position. And that's the point at which you have to give, for that squat example, you have to give variations where they can't use their back. So that's mainly going to come in the form of accessories. They're going to have to do like a pendulum squat, or they're going to have to do like a Smith machine knees forward type plat squat variation, or an actual plat squat, high bar, and you'll have to be strict on cueing them to actually get strong and train that position, because although it's weaker now, it is a higher ceiling to just have a more stacked leg dominant squat. But my point in all of this is that technique is constantly evolving. It can change when your leverages change, when you gain or lose weight. It might just have to change, and you come to that conclusion once you get strong enough to realize that you've been approaching a mechanical drop off where you're just not going to be able to push through it unless you do alter and rebuild your technique a little bit. And basically there's just levels to technique, and it's not always apparent, because when you switch to a technique you're not going to be stronger right at first, but the dividends will be paid off in the long run. And that's why it's very useful to have a coach, but also just understand what is happening to your body in terms of fatigue and muscular development based on the technique that you are using, and just kind of being able to have a little foresight and look where that ceiling is going to be, and see if it's going to be a continued problem or if it can be filled in through accessories and within the structure of your program. And if it can't, then you might want to look into that, the different methods of altering that technique for your leverages.